All right, so welcome to Tips and Tricks in Novacura Flow. You already met Andreas. My name is Ola Carlander, for the ones who haven't met me before. And we know we are the only ones standing between you and lunch right now, so we'll try to make your effort worthwhile for that. Sorry, hiding. You're not hidden.
The minus.
Good, that's a good tip and trick. Yep, so we asked you guys a little bit in preparation for this what you wanted to see. Joachim, you asked for the map. I'll show you some map. A lot of questions have also been around FlowScript and the REST connector. And who better to present that than the product manager, Andreas Berggren?
Thank you, Ola. Let's see if this works. So, REST services are very common nowadays. They are easy to use and understand, and they are easy to implement. It's just the HTTP request, and they typically return JSON in their response. And they are very easy to test using tools like Postman. So, with that in mind, we thought it would be very helpful to show you how to set up a REST service in Flow Classic. So, in this demo, we will build a workflow that fetches exchange rates for all active currencies from Riksbanken, that is the Swedish central bank, and their REST API. And we want to calculate the average rate for August. So first, let's take a look at the documentation. So in this case, we can see it's a GET request, and it contains of a base URL, the yellow part of the URL, and we have a subpath, and the subpath is static, so it's the same for all version 1 APIs. And then we have the individual operation path. And REST API documentation usually contains an example of the output, the response that we will get back from the API. So that can be useful when we create our integration in Flow. So let's first take a look at how to set up this connector in Flow. So what we do is that we add a new connector, we give it a name, we set the type to be a REST service. We enter the base address, so that was the one we found in the documentation. And then we need to go into the REST project configuration to specify the operations we want to use. So in this case, we want 2 operations. First, we will fetch the available currencies, and then we want to fetch the rates for those. So we give it a name, and then we set the subpath, so that was the static path for version 1. We define a new operation, and that is to get the exchange rate series, so that's the available currencies. We set the path to the individual endpoint and the display name. And the display name will be seen when we use this connector in Flow. So those are the things we need to configure for the operation. Going back, we will next define the output of this endpoint, what we will get back. So we create a new model, and we use the new from JSON. We give it a name, so exchange rate series. And then we use the example from the documentation. We just paste it in. We click on review, and in there we can just check that Flow got it all right. So we can see that group ID is an integer, series close is a boolean, and so on. Click OK. And now the last step for the first operation is to connect the response to our model. So in the type, we will say array, since it's a list of currencies that we get back. And we specify that each item in the list is the object we just created. And then we'll define the second operation, and that is similar. So the difference here is that we have some parameters that we need to send. And those are the group ID from and to in the path. You can see that they have curly braces. And that will turn them automatically into parameters visible in the parameters node. So now we have defined the connector and the usage of the two APIs we need for this solution. Oops, where's my presentation? Here it is, I guess. So next, it's to build the workflow. So in the first step, we will just set, for this example, just hard code the from date and to date. So 1st of August, last of August. And then we will configure the actual request using the connector we just defined. So we'll select the new connector. We'll say, okay, we want to get the exchange series. So those were the names we defined in the connector. So this one does not require any other input. So we'll just name the target variable. Okay. So we said that we wanted to get the active currencies. So to filter the response we get back, we can use a FlowScript function for that. So we select and say that we want all the currencies that are not closed. So we store that in a currencies table. And next, in the API, all currencies are connected to a group ID. And the group ID, we need that for the second operation, when we fetch the rates. So by using another FlowScript function, which is select distinct, we can get all the unique group IDs from the list of currencies. So we store that in a group table. And next, we define the request for the rates. And since it might be more than one group, we can use what's called an iterator.
And I gotta admit that I didn't know this, the iterator. Andreas showed me, I was like, whoa, it's like the SQL Server thing.
Tips and tricks for you. So we select the groups, so that was the unique groups, and we set that to reference the iterator. It's a little I in front of the variable there. And then we use the regular variables for the from and to date. So when we use an iterator, the response get a little bit complicated, since each of the item in the iterator will do a new request. So that means that we will have a nested table So usually we just want to flatten that out to just hold all the rates and dates. And the last thing is to actually calculate the averages. So there we can take some other useful FlowScript features, and that is a group by. So we select the series ID, so that's the currencies, from our rates table. So we will get the unique series back from this query. We create a table holding the result of our calculations. Then we have the table with all the currencies, dates, and rates, and we loop over that. So for each individual currency, we will count how many rates we got back and the sum of all these. And then we calculate the average, and by using a FlowScript format function, we can set it to always have 3 decimals by using the string F3 here. So there's a lot of options for formatting things, and that's available in the documentation. And lastly, now we have calculated the average for each currency, and we want to use the FlowScript join function to take the list of available currencies together with the average we just calculated. And then we'll just add the last user step to show that we actually are getting the rates back, and we present it in a user step. So that's how we use our connector, the REST connector. And next, we want to run and debug and see that it actually works. So what we do is just click on the play button, top right, and we will run the workflow in the test bench. So we can see, yeah, seems to be working. We get the list of all the available currencies and the calculated average rate. We also have a new performance tab that I don't think we have shown before. And that's where we can see the time it takes for all the steps to execute. So that means that we can easily identify the steps that takes a little bit longer time. So for example, we see that get currency series takes some time, and then a little bit even longer for the rates. Still not a long time, but anyway, it's helpful for you to identify the bottlenecks in your workflow. Why does it take so long time, if it does? And lastly, we want to remind you that we have a lot of functionality for the variables section in the test bench. So we can copy the variables and its content, for example, as FlowScript, meaning that we will get something back that we can use in script steps. So this could be, we store the data just for testing, and then we can execute the workflow without actually connecting to the backend system. Copy as start step editor code. So that will take the definition of the variable, and we can use it if we are going to develop a fragment, for example. So just paste this code into the green start ring. So that's very convenient. You can also copy variables and just paste them as items in your workflow. So copy as a script step, copy as an assignment step. And another neat feature is the anonymize copied values. So if you have sensitive data and you need to send the workflow to our support team, for example, then you can use this function. And let's copy the variable as a table item, stop the workflow, and just paste it in like this. So now we have automatically created a table with our scrambled data. So that's a little bit about debugging. So I just want to summarize what we just did. So first, we typically start by taking a look at the REST API documentation. We set up a REST connector project in Flow, so define the operations, what we need to send in as parameters, what we get back. Then we create our workflow to use the REST connector and start debugging. So this demo workflow might not be that useful on its own, but what if you add another step for updating your ERP currency rates? Then it starts to actually become quite useful. So that is the REST services in Flow Connect. I will hand over to
Lost and found. I think that especially, you copy the data, so you can remove all of your data sources and just replace them with copied cell data. And then you can send the workflow into us and we can run it through without having access to your ERPs and stuff. I think that could be pretty useful. All right, lost and found. So in order to show the map and some of the features, I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to show my feature proposition first, and then we can take a look a little bit closer how I configure it. Anecdotal data, actually. 2 times the last week. Once I helped a friend, he lost his car keys when we were out playing golf, and I was like, oh, we should have had a lost and found app in the city, it would be great. And another anecdote, me and Marcus, a developer at ours, we found a car key and was like, okay, what do we do? We went to the police station and tried to hand it in, and it took a while and all of that. So we need a lost and found, so someone please make this. So how I see this done is we have a map of Gothenburg here, where the red dots are lost items and the green dots are found items. And I'm going to do it in a video because unfortunately I wanted to use my phone, but it doesn't work to mirror the phone on the Wi-Fi. So I'll do it the video way. So my scenario here is, okay, first there is a dog loose, a dog called Flo up in this park. So if anyone sees that dog, please let us know. All right, so the map, how it works is we drag this pin item into the map, which will create coordinates somewhere. Right now I'm storing it in a database. And a workflow opens asking me to name the pin. For each pin we can give colors and we can give names. I think you've seen this if you've been working with the map. I classify my thing here as a lost item or a found item, and I give it a name and a description. And executing the workflow. What I can do more here with the little trick is I can create one of these areas, right? So I don't know where I lost my thing. It's within an area, so I could use, it's a little bit of a dirty trick, dirty hack here, but I can use the pointer to move around to create my area for where I think the computer was lost in this case. Then now I put on a different hat. I am walking around and I'm actually finding a thing. So I open my app, I start the found application, I found a thing application. And this is what I wanted to have show you on the phone, but it doesn't work, so I recorded it instead. This is the GPS input. I don't know if you've seen it in the workflow in the user step. There is a control called GPS input, which grabs your GPS coordinates at the moment. So here I say that, what did I find? Well, I found a gray computer bag. And also, maybe it's time, I feel to admit stuff. I wanted to use this, the microphone down here. I don't know if you tried it. It used to work. It didn't now. But it's, I don't know, I think it's my phone, because this is actually an iOS or like an operating system. But I think you can dictate things here, which is pretty cool actually if you have gloves or stuff on you. So anyway, I had to type with my keyboard. I found a gray computer bag. It was found here. I press next. And this is not going to be so cool feature because we already saw it. Someone demoed, was it Andreas? That demoed the annotation feature where I found this bag. You can press on the image in the client and you can draw some things on it. Arrows.
We can just mention, even though I showed it, but this is Classic, so it's also available in Classic.
True, correct. So we have that feature both in Classic and Connect. And we're doing the same demo out of coincidence. I didn't know you were showing the exact same thing. We draw a circle, I'm typing some text, and maybe this could be a clue to where this backpack belongs, who knows? We save the image and then click next in the application and it will save it to our database. So now I want to switch over to the, see if this is still up and running. Yep. So this is the solution live, so to speak. And this is a dog. And the way you set up the map portlet, it's a background. In this case, it's the world, which we really can't control. We have access to some different type of maps, but it's unfortunately not yet there where we could put an office building or something like that. Right now it's the world as a background. Then there is a second layer which contains the pins, which we can put colors on, we can put some labels on them, hover over, stuff like that. And then there is this third area, which are actually the coordinates. So for each of these coordinates, what is it, like a rhomb or something? There are coordinates. And if I move between them, I see that they have different coordinates. So it's typically, I think this is used for showing the states of USA or the countries of Europe or something like that. It's called GeoJSON. And there are pretty cool tools to draw these GeoJSONs if you want to do it by yourself. But you could obviously use Flow for that as well. Yeah, what else? I showed you that we uploaded the image. I can just prove to you that this is the image once it loads from that backpack. So it's not a big shocker if it opens ever. There we go. So that's the image we uploaded. That is the demo. Do we have any questions in regards to the rest?